Big Z Reviews. Hi, my name is Brandon Zarzyczny, but you can call me Big Z. And today I'm talking about Shadow of the Conqueror, a book by fellow YouTuber and author Shad Brooks, or also from Shadiversity. It's kind of like HEMA-related kind of fantasy or just historical thing channel. That is, his content is always really interesting, and always it has like he's from Australia, and he has a lot of interesting stuff he always talks about. And this is his first book. I think it's his independently published, and I enjoyed a lot of it. It's very Brandon Sanderson-esque, but I think when it comes down to it, the biggest letdown of it is that he decided to make it about fantasy Hitler. And it's just, even if you're like the best author in the world, is going to have a tough time, tackling a first-person viewpoint character that's essentially fantasy Hitler or fantasy Stalin. There's a lot that's not well done here. Like it's not even that it's not well done. The writing is okay. Like it's not the best writing, but it's serviceable, especially for an indie published book. And I liked the action. I really liked a lot of the action. Like, it's kind of like Mistborn-esque, like just like really it's almost like superhero-y. Like it's all written very well, and I like a lot of it. It's just it's tough. Like it'll probably be triggering, and it's not that it's grimdark. It's just that, and it's so focused on it because this guy is literally fantasy Hitler, and then you're supposed to root for him in this book, and it's tough. It's tough, but for this world, it's an interesting world. Although he goes like so crazy with it, with how this world works. It's a lot of times a little bit tough to picture. Essentially, there's like these like floating continents in this like endless sky that, like, if you go far enough down, essentially you're transported to the top of it, and then so you kind of would fall endlessly. But this the main character, Dalen, or Dalus the Conqueror, like he is like 80 some years old, and he's been living in exile for like 20-30 years, but he decides to finally end it himself before he dies of natural causes. But he decides, they say that, like, if you do that, if you fall and you keep falling, but if you hit that barrier or whatever, the thing where it switches up to the top of the world, the universe or whatever, if you have, there's this dark stone and light stone, and that's like a lot of stuff is kind of like slightly steampunky. Like there's a lot of like flying ships and stuff, but it's still sciencey too. Like, but the idea is that if you have the light stone or dark stone, you'll die. But he says, what if you're holding both Lightstone and Darkstone? And it turns out that it makes him young, and it gives him superpowers. So now he has to, live as he's trying to pass himself off as the son. Well, once he's forced to, of Dalus the Conqueror, and maybe do his, like, he's like, if you're viewing him, he believes that the light, which is like kind of what they view the gods in the world, as almost like giving him even more punishment for all the destruction he caused, because he views like punishment as being made to live with his shame of what he's done. And I think it's an interesting idea, but at the same time, to be as devastating a ruler as he was, he has to have been a sociopath or a psychopath. But it's not quite written like that. Like, it's written like he is, oh, woe is me. I raped and murdered so many people. Like, oh, I guess I have to live with it though. Like, it's the writing of it is just a little odd. Also, like, for the for the first bit, there's a lot of the info dump is like a steaming pile of info dump in the first like quarter of the book, because like it's all you have to explain everything that goes on in this world. It's like, but it's so different, you have to spend a lot of time trying to explain everything. And then, like, once he's fallen, he's experimenting with his powers, and like they gets a lot into like the physics of it and how all the powers would work. And it's interesting, but it's just there's a lot there, and you're all in his head. And I think I can do it. I could go with it, but like at a certain point, there gets to the rape, and that stuff is tough, because like they don't really depict rapes in it, but like he is a pedophile. Like, I mean, he's literally a pedophile. He's a rapist. Like he. It's weird though. Like I love Shad, but how he decided to do it is just like, what is the youngest I could have him, a person I could have him rape that wouldn't be too pedophile-y? 13. 13, people will be okay with him raping a 13-year-old girl. Okay, yeah. And then, of course, that the one of the 13-year-old girls he raped is one of the other main characters, but now she's like as an adult, and she's like one of the other like super soldiers, or like magical like knights that have powers that are like the same as his, but maybe slightly different. And there's a lot there to unpack. And I just I don't know, a lot of that stuff with it is just it's tough. And I mean, especially because there's like inklings of there may be a romance between the two of them, and it's like, oh, Shad, that's, oh, don't do that. Come on, man, that's not good. You shouldn't do that. There's a lot of problems with that. Oh boy, and it's just like at a certain point, like you're like I like the main story. I mean, I almost wish they would have done it some way differently. But like I try to think of how I would fix this book, because like obviously if somehow he had to republish it like under like a national publisher, and I don't think they'd touch this with a 10-foot pole. But at the same time, like if he wanted to rework it, I don't know if he could, but like I think like being the fantasy Hitler, like he literally like at one point like he talks about, like thinks about like all the people he murdered. And it's like he murdered like I can't remember what number was, like multiple millions of people, like 50 million people or something like that. He thinks he murdered, and he raped thousands of women. Like essentially, like as the emperor, they all his people would bring him young girls, younger the better, the virgins, and he would like, and the way to describe it is that he said that I didn't know they're unwilling, but at a certain point I my taste grew worse, and like I the younger the better, and I would make them walk around naked all the time. And it's just like there's a lot there. Also, I found it really odd where like he thinks that like you say that he thinks that he should be life imprisonment, like he should live with what he did and think about it and try to make better the world. And I like that, but at the same time he goes around murdering everyone he can find that they consider bad. Like and it's like he's a judge, jury, and executioner for everyone else, but you can't judge him. You know, he deserves to die, but he's not. But he can't die because he's has to be punished for his crimes. But like at one point, there's like these people that are. It's kind of like neo Nazis. Like they're trying to bring back his empire, even though it's horrible. But he like he's talking to her, and he's like playing with his new abilities, and he's using his abilities, like he can enhance like anything, any aspect of himself, like, and so he can make himself like multiple times lighter or heavier, or he can make himself stronger or faster, or he can make himself smarter, make him have better memory, better vision, better smell. when he uses the smell, he's like, he could tell she's aroused by him. And like you get her plans, and then he literally punches her head off, like explodes her head and it's like, well, he even stopped to say, but like you can see like the light in the people, and then more light, like if there's hardly any light in them, then they're evil, and like he still has some light, so they say that like she believes in her cause, but like, he just punches her head off, and it's like, well, shouldn't you be trying to stop this stuff without killing everyone? Like he like kills all these pirates, and like there's really, I think Shad must really hate pirates, because like the pirates are the same as like sex traffickers and stuff, and like he wants to stop the sex trafficking trade, and he wants to stop pirates, and it's odd. But like the writing, I don't dislike it. I like some of the characters they have, like, but it's just, like I said, what would I change? Like, the easiest thing would have it actually be his son, instead of him pretending to be the Conqueror's son. But you'd have to change a lot to do that. And the other thing is just tone down some of the rape. Maybe not have him in this past raping 13-year-old girls, which turn out to be one of the other main characters. Because I mean, a lot of the stuff is like the idea is that they're kind of like like in Game of Thrones, where they have like long winters, the rest of like, but there's like the fourth night. Eventually, almost always, like, there's no light for months or years, and when there's like these dark beings comes out, and they try to kill everyone, and there's a lot of stuff they do with the light and stuff like that. It's really cool and interesting. But essentially he was like a general in the war, and he like saved the world, and then after it, like he's trying to change his government or whatever, and the aristocrats kind of murder his whole family, and he decides to get revenge and murder every noble, all the nobility, and then he takes over and becomes emperor. And like, and a lot of the stuff, like some of the stuff, how they phrase it, I think could work with how he wants to completely like destroy all the beings that live in the dark places in the world. They try to end it now, instead of waiting until the fifth long night, and so to come back and kill them, like, but to do that, like he's tried to be emperor of the world, essentially, to use all of the world's might to destroy them. But then along the way, he got stuck and just did horrible things doing it. Like, that would be better. And just stay away from the rape, because you're not. Shad isn't quite a good enough writer to tackle that. But I don't know if anyone, because it's such a tough topic. And it's also, I think, the trope of like the women can only be strong if they have a backstory of history of being raped. That makes them strong, but also makes them weak, like traumatized by it. But like that, he uses that trope a bit for the main woman character in the book. Like the only main, like, then. I don't know, because his writing shows potential. Like I enjoyed it. Like there's only one book, and I assume the series. Like the biggest thing you could do probably would be have the fifth night, and have him have to do that. But like, and I would read it. If it came out, I would read it. But it's tough. I mean, there was a lot there. Like there's a lot there that's good, but essentially, like there's this guy. Like in this world, there's like there's these magic knights, and then there's more like these priests that also have magic powers, kinda, but like from different sources. They just are more like from the gods. But like this one, he is like his main companion. He has a vision of him, so he wants to come help him, like change the world for the better and not repeat the acts of his father. Of course, it's him. And I mean, there's a lot of like, it's kind of funny, but kind of a little goofy, where like he's thinking and sometimes talking like an old man, and he gets pissed at everyone calling him boy because he looks like he's like 18 years old or something. But there's a lot good here. It's just I wish he would have toned some of the stuff down. It's just tough. it's tough. I think it really makes it hard to recommend the book with all the rape. And not, but it doesn't depict the rapes generally. It's just like talking about them and him remorsing about it. But again, I think for a character, it doesn't really make sense that he's so remorseful about it, because like I doubt Hitler was remorseful. He thought he was doing right. I guess they say that he was like, after time he was able to realize what he did wrong. But I mean, to do that, you'd have to be a sociopath. And he doesn't, because you're in his mind as your first person viewpoint, and he doesn't generally feel like a sociopath, how he writes them. But I think it's tough. It's tough to give it a score, because I did enjoy my time with it. But it's just, I think I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10, 6.5, 6.75 out of 10. It's hard to recommend, but it is some fun stuff. Like if you like some of the Brandon Sanderson-esque sort of things with, the try to explain a lot of how the magic works, and really interesting in different worlds. And but it's not, it's a little bit grimdark, but it's just, I don't know, some of the stuff is tough. But thanks for watching, and if you want to see more, you can subscribe down below. Thanks.